So my name's Dena. I like to throw vessels, small vessels, usually cups and bowls mostly. So I've got some clay here that I've wedged. This is about 1.5 pounds. And I'm just going to attach it to the bat and smack it so it sticks. And once I've got it good and on there to where it's not going to fly off, I can start centering it. To center it, you start your bat going, you get it a little wet, and then you can kind of see how it's wobbling all over, so you need to push it towards the middle. I know you guys have all done this before, so you kind of know what's going on already. Okay, so I'm going to use my hands to push it towards the middle. I like to use my left hand on the outside and my right hand on the top. Everybody does it a little differently, but that's how it works for me. And when you're centering, it's very important to use your whole body. So you always want to keep your arms touching your legs, so that way you have your whole body support. You're not just relying on the strength in your arms. So I push it towards the middle, and I'm just simultaneously pushing in and down. I almost push it a little bit beyond the middle. You know, I'm almost pushing it like a little bit harder, like I'm almost pushing it past the wheel. That helps me center quite quickly. And when you're centering too, you start to think about what kind of vessel you're going to be making. If you're going to be making a cup, which is taller, you want to center a little taller, so it's more like a column. But if you're doing a bowl, you can center a little lower, so that way the shape of the mound starts to mimic the form that you're going to make with it right away. So I'm going to do a cup, so I'm going to bring it up a little bit. And you'll notice that my pinky and my hand down here is flush with the bat. That way you can push up any additional clay down there, it doesn't get stuck at the bottom. If the extra clay gets stuck there at the bottom, it's really hard. It kind of throws your whole process off throughout the whole thing. So put all the clay up there. Okay, and then once it stops wobbling and it feels like it's centered, then you can start opening your form. You can do this a couple different ways, but I like to use the fingers on my right hand. And I just rest the fingertip on top, and that way you can start to feel and see the middle. And then I push straight down. Almost to the bottom, but not quite. And you can use your needle tool to gauge how much clay is at the bottom of your piece. I mostly just eyeball it since I've done it so many times. And plus I trim my pieces too, so any additional clay down there, I'll trim it after it's dry. Okay, so once you've got the hole open, I noticed too when I did that, I was supporting my right hand with my left hand. Whenever you throw, it's good to support yourself, the movement that you're making. It'll make you more steady, it'll make your movements more even. So once I open it, or create the hole, then I can open it. And I do that just by pulling it towards my other hand. So I'm supporting with my left hand, and I'm opening with my right hand. And I'm just pulling towards it like that, gradually getting bigger. You'll feel the clay too. You can go as fast as what the clay will allow you. And when you pull it open, it's good to kind of touch up your edge a little bit as you go throughout the process. And as you're pulling too, you want to keep your bottom as flat as possible. That way it'll be easier to clean up later the inside. And you'll notice too when I was pulling that, it's touching my hands together again. That it's just so important to support your hands. You can support them with each other, you can support them with the side of the wheel, you can support it with your arm. Just always try to support it. It's not about your arm strength or your hand strength. Okay, so once it's open a little bit, we can start bringing up the walls. So I usually start wetting my piece at the rim at this point. And whenever you wet your piece, you can push down a little bit, and it'll help clean up your edge on the top, keep it nice and even throughout the throwing process. And I usually slow it down a little bit at this point, because when you get taller, the walls get a little weaker. So I start at the bottom, and again, I'm supporting my hands. I like to use a little sponge piece. You guys can use your fingers if you want to. But again, that support is the most important thing, so make sure your hands are always touching. And you just start by pinching the bottom and gently pulling up towards the top. and then I pull it, and then I touch up the rim. And as you go too, like my bottom just got a little bit of an indent in it, so I'm just cleaning it up with the sponge right now. Okay, so I'm going to do it again. And you can see how it's starting to get a little wider. It's a little wider than what I was hoping for. Oh, I have an air bubble. Okay, when you have the air bubble, you can just pop it with your needle tool.
You've got another one
On your side.
on your side.
Oh, I see it. That's what I get for rushing. I wedged it quite quickly.
You have one right there in the front too.
I think it's just wider.
Might just be clay dough.
Okay.
Okay, so since it's a little wider than what I want, I'm going to wet the edges again, and I'm actually going to squeeze it more towards the middle, so that way I'll start to get the clay moving more upwards and towards the middle, because I want it to be more narrow like a cup. Okay, so once I get the size that I'm going for height-wise, I can start playing with the shape a little bit. I like to kind of push out the bottoms and have the tops be a little narrower. And I just do that by applying a little bit more pressure on the inside than the outside. And I also really like to use the metal rib. It helps me shape the form so that way they're nice and even and smooth. The metal rib, when you're shaping a cup, it's good to bend it like this, and it will really give you a nice rounded shape. And you can press with your fingers on the inside while you press with the metal rib on the outside. Look at wobbly. You can see how it made it nice and bulbous looking. And you can use it the opposite direction on the top too, using this side of it. And then you can just clean it up with your fingers. And on the very last step that I like to do is do the very top rim by just using your fingers and the sponge to clean it up a little bit. And then I'll go through and take the extra clay off the bottom. And then I'll clean that bottom up with my sponge. Yeah. So that's it. And then I'll cut it off with wire. And then I do a lot of stuff when I trim too. So once you get to the trimming stage, then you can add more detail to the sides and the foot. Yep, that's body. Like use your body to throw your piece. Don't just use your hands or your arms. It'll make a big difference.
Okay, good. Thanks, Dena. Okay.